Hey, how's it going everyone? It's me, it's Jinsula, and welcome to another Pokemon Go discussion video. Today we're going to be talking about Deino Community Day, which we just had. I really enjoyed this Community Day, but I do think it could have been a lot better. Niantic had a really good idea on their hands, but the execution was a little bit lacking. I'm going to be talking about all of this in today's video, so let's roll the intro and get right into it. Okay, let's talk about Deino Community Day, because I really do think there was a lot of potential with this Community Day. Niantic just failed to stick the landing with their great ideas, and unfortunately, a lot of players were left frustrated. Now for me myself, I actually had a very positive experience. Not only did I have incredible luck this Community Day, but I was able to play with a good group of players over at Petoskey, Michigan. It's a small town in northern Michigan, but they have a really good Pokemon Go presence out there, and I have to give them a shout out. They actually made my Pokemon Go experience really positive. So yeah, if you're ever in that area, definitely connect with those people. They are a really good group, and I do wish them the best when it comes to Pokemon Go. And a specific shout out to Drew, who is leading up the community over there, because if it wasn't for him, I would have not been able to catch a couple of hundos during this Community Day. Oh, also, I want to give a shout out to Film Vlogs. He is another YouTuber in this space that creates great Pokemon Go content. He actually gifted me a special research ticket. That was a really nice and a surprising gesture, so I really wanted to return the favor by giving him a shout out here on this video. Okay, so with that said, let's talk about some of the negatives behind Deino Community Day, because if Niantic were to polish up this new format, I do think it could be a great format for future Community Days in Pokemon Go. First, let's talk about those wild Zwellas spawns, because I do think that at some points they were a bit of a hindrance to the Community Day experience, especially because they were seemingly spawning everywhere, but they could not be shiny. Even though I was enjoying the benefit of getting a whole bunch of XL candy through catching these Pokemon, I still felt like they kind of took away from the spirit of Community Days because they could not be shiny. Even if the shiny rate was lower than your regular dinos, I think it would have been a really cool idea to have them actually be potentially shiny. Like, I actually thought the idea was really cool as a concept. Have players coordinate and work together to get more Zwellas spawns by catching a whole bunch of dinos under a lure. It's a really cool idea in concept, but because Zwellas could not be shiny, most players only saw this as a hindrance to their true goal, which was to catch as many shinies as they possibly could. I even noticed that some players were refusing to lure up certain Pokestops because the spawn rate was really good under those Pokestops, and they didn't want any of them to become Zwellas, which could not be shiny. So for future Community Days, I think all Niantic needs to do is to allow these Pokemon to be shiny if they are going to be spawning under lures as a special spawn. Again, I really enjoyed the fact that they were spawning because of the amount of XL candy that I was getting. I just felt like it would have made more sense if they could potentially be shiny, considering that it was a Community Day. Now the next thing I want to talk about is of course the Wallace raids at the end of Community Day. This was something that was introduced as a way to increase the duration of Community Day, which is something that players have been asking for, but it ended up not working out according to plan, especially for players who live in rural areas. So how exactly was it meant to work? Well, when Community Day ended, you would start seeing Zwellas raids appear in gyms around your area, and if you were to get enough players to complete those raids in person, you would start seeing dinos spawn all around that gym, even though Community Day ended. And all of those dinos would have the same shiny rate as Community Day, so this was a small way to get you to have an extended duration of Community Day. Now just like the wild Zwellas spawns, this was actually a really good idea on paper, but the way Niantic executed it, it was actually extremely problematic. Let's talk about the obvious problem first. The only players that were able to benefit from this system was of course players who lived in high populated areas. For rural players and players who live in small populated areas, they were not able to get enough Zwellas raids completed in order to get additional dino spawns. Even if they had help from remote players, it was still very difficult to get enough players to complete those raids in order to trigger a whole bunch of dino spawning around that gym. This is yet another example of Niantic disregarding rural players, and that's gotta be really frustrating for the community at large. If Niantic is serious about getting in the good graces of the community, then they really need to come up with systems that are more inclusive and a lot more accessible, especially for players who are disabled or live in rural areas. I totally understand that Niantic is trying to encourage more community-based cooperative play, but they really should not disregard solo players and players who live in rural areas as a result. I also do not like the fact that these Zwellas raids were a lot harder than they needed to be. Like, once again, I totally understand that Niantic is trying to get more cooperative elements into the game, but it really felt like they were forcing it by making Zwellas a lot harder than a lot of players thought it would end up being. I feel like at most, these should have been 3-star raids in terms of difficulty. That way more players would be able to complete them, and more players would have access to the benefits that completing these raids would give you. And the reward for completing these raids was also very lackluster. You were spending an entire raid pass for a Pokemon that could not be shiny, and it was a Pokemon that was already spawning around the clock just a few minutes prior. And it wasn't like these raids were giving you a whole bunch of rare candies and rare candy XLs as well. So aside from the increased dino spawns, there really was no incentive for players to go all out on these raids. It would have been really nice if Niantic added some sort of special reward for completing them. And finally, I really felt like these raids should have hatched at the exact moment that Community Day ended. Once Community Day ended, you had to wait around for these eggs to actually appear in gyms, and then you had to wait about 20 minutes for them to hatch. I really felt like there was a huge lull period after Community Day ended, and it even caused a lot of players around me to just simply go home. I really felt like this kind of destroyed the purpose of having the increased duration through these raid battles. Since Niantic did not have the foresight to have these eggs hatch at the exact time that Community Day ended, it kind of caused a lot of players to no longer care about it and to simply end their Community Day experience right then and there. But yeah, regardless of these criticisms, I still thought this was a really good idea, and it was a great way to increase the duration that a lot of players have been asking for. But again, all Niantic needs to do is polish it up, and I do think it could be great for Pokemon Go moving forward. Overall, I had a very positive experience with Deino Community Day. A lot of that had to do with luck, but also the community that I was playing with, and I do think that Niantic did try out a lot of things, which they just need to figure out on how to make it better. If they can figure that out, it's going to be a much better experience moving forward, and I do think this is something the community can get behind. But anyway, yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Leave your thoughts regarding all of this down below. Did you enjoy Deino Community Day, or did you end up not liking it at all? Definitely share why down below, and let's have a great discussion. And if you ended up enjoying this video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if it's your first time here, and don't forget that little bell so you stay up to date on whenever I upload videos. And I want to give a quick shout out to my patrons on Patreon. You make this channel content possible. If you want to support my channel in any way, then do consider checking out the links in the description below. Once again, I want to give a shout out to Drew and all of the folks at Petoskey, Michigan. You guys definitely made my Pokemon Go experience a pleasant one. So yeah, if you are ever in northern Michigan, then definitely check out this group. They are doing some great things over there at Petoskey, Michigan. Yeah, that's gonna be it. I'm Count Jinsula. Be safe, have fun, love yourself, and I'll catch you all later.